viewers. I'm Aftara and I have the privilege of anchoring today's session. There is something strangely irresistible about a mystery. A locked room, a cryptic note, a shadow in the fog, a car that breaks down in the middle of a long. This afternoon, we step into a world where nothing is quite what it seems, where every clue matters, and where every silence could be hiding a secret. I'm honored to welcome you all to this session titled Murder de Route, a session that celebrates the timeless allure of detective fiction and the brilliant minds who have kept us turning pages well past midnight. Detective fiction has evolved, adapted, and reinvented itself, but its power to captivate remains unchanged. As we eagerly await this session to captivate and inspire us, it is my distinct honor and privilege to invite the chair of this session, Sir Dhruva Hajarika, to kindly grace the dais. Dhruva Hajarika is a novelist, short story writer, and longtime columnist. He has authored the novels A Bowstring Winter and Sons of Brahma, along with the short story collections Luck and The Shoot. He is a recipient of the Katha Award and the DY365 Award, and has also been a columnist during the past 40 years for The Telegraph, The Sentinel, and the Assam Tribune. His short stories have appeared in journals such as Indian Literature, Usava Literary Journal, the Bombay Literary Magazine, Melange, and New Frontiers. Inspired by cosmology and travels across Northeast India, the region shapes his fiction. It is now my privilege to invite Sir Krishna Srinivasan onto the dais. Krishna Srinivasan was an Indian diplomat from 1959 to 2002. As ambassador to 5 countries, foreign secretary, and Commonwealth Deputy Secretary General. Thereafter, he was visiting fellow at Cambridge, Leiden, ASCI Hyderabad, and the Azad Institute of Kolkata, during which he published 9 books on world politics. He has also written 8 novels featuring Somali Ambassador Michael Marco's adventures in Africa, USA, the Middle East, Britain, Sweden, and India. His latest novel, published in 2025, is titled Kolkata Crimes, and Ambassador Marco and Detective Cold Lake Casebook. We are truly honored by your presence, sir. It is now my privilege to invite Madam Vasundhara onto the dais. Having travelled across India, New Delhi-born Vasundhara's experience channeled into stories and art from a young age. She has started acting at the age of 17. She has been a part of several award-winning films, playing a variety of roles, including female lead and villain. Her debut novel, The Accused, is a crime thriller set in Mumbai and Chennai. It explores the current state of the world where social media is everything. Vasundhara also writes poems, enjoys painting and design. Now, I take the honor to invite Madam Jung Hyo-jung onto the dais. She is a leading voice in contemporary foreign fiction, known for psychological thrillers that explore human desire and moral ambiguity. A former nurse, she turned to writing in her mid-30s and authored acclaimed novels including Shoot Me in the Heart, 7 Years of Darkness, 28, and The Good Son. The English translation of The Good Son expanded her international readership. Often called Korea's Stephen King, she is praised for her intense genre-blending storytelling, with several works adapted into movies. Now, I take the honor to invite Sir Saif Khatibi onto the dais. Saif Khatibi is an Algerian writer who writes in Arabic. He is the author of 5 novels which have been translated into 7 languages. His works have received several literary awards in the Arab world. His work, Sarajevo Firewood, was shortlisted for 2000 International Prize for Arabic Fiction. The End of the Sahara is his another work. Besides his main profession as a novelist, he also works as a journalist. Esteemed dignitaries, thank you for gracing us with your presence. Without any further ado, I now hand over the session to the chair. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. That is the most rigorous part of the speech from the anchor. Now I hand over the mic to the chair. You can understand how suspenseful feelings those words. I can't get my breath working. I mean, I'm not being melodramatic, but it's very scary sitting with 4 persons who have done the job to people. I will not use the word murder, but they have been at it figuratively, imaginatively, creatively, and perhaps very happily. Vasundhara? So, very happily got into the work of the kind of work they do. Now there's a small catch here. Is it okay if I sit this way, or should I go over there next to Yom? Because just 1 second, Apsara, we'll just shift a bit because after that, what we can do. We are improvising. We are making space for the model to take place. Sorry for that. Yeah, more at home. So, this murder railroad, and thereafter it was qualified that how the moderator investigates the detective works of the four very, very well-known authors, internationally well-known authors. But I take this opportunity to tell you that it's not just detective. There's horror here, there's suspense here, there is crime here, a few of the peripheral, I would say, words related to the word detective. Would I be correct in saying that, sir? I need your permission to say that, Vasundhara? You, sorry? Yeah, we'll come to it. So that's actually by way of getting my breath back and trying to figure out what next to say. We hadn't really planned, as generally we do, about how we go about the sessions. So this will be more like a mystery to me as I go about Vasundhara, sir. This whole session here will be a mystery to me, and I'll have to grope my way through. So if during the process you find that I've been talking too much, forgive me, and if you find I'm not talking too much, forgive me. Okay? So we have two lady authors here, two gents. I'll start off with Srinivasan, who's actually my sir. I'm a former civil servant, and 3 years after I was born, in the year 1959, he joined the Indian Foreign Service. So he just celebrated his 89th birthday on the 15th of February. I think we owe him a clap. Happy birthday, sir. And he stepped onto his 90th year, 90 year. And he's still going around, with his detective work and his other activities related to shooting and killing and spying and espionage and suspense. So, sir, to you, first and foremost, not because you are the senior-most among us, but because you are the most experienced among us. In 90 years, I think the experience you have had in life, we are still crawling towards it. Although I'm no young stuff myself, I'm pretty old myself. So, sir, you have been a prolific writer. Sir he's got about 18 to 19, I think 18 books under his belt. Out of which I'll stand corrected because when I spoke to Krishna, he insists I call him by his first name, for which I'm very glad, but I feel a bit occasionally shy to in terms of the Indian context. But he has written 18 books, out of which 8 of them, I would say, are to do with detective work. We'll go on to the other works relating to his over. But as of now, there is this gentleman called Michael Marco. Michael Marco, who is the thematic detective in these 4 novels of his, in these 8 novels of his. So, because we have 1.5 hours with us, sufficient time to go easy, but not that easy, so that the suspense is lost. How did that character come into you, sir? The ugly ambassador you wrote. Was it your alter ego? Was it something to do beyond that? Was it a replica of some imaginative understanding born out of some mystery novels he had read? And as you progressed, because I have read sir's books, He is a fantastic gentleman. Despite being a person who has to go into the murky world of murder, he's as refined and fine as Krishna himself. So this is slightly personal, and yet at the same time, I think I owe it to the public, and sir, you owe it to us. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Dhruv. It's too much praise, of course, but in any case, if what's said has been said, so nothing I can do about it. This, by the way, is the first session after lunch, so it's known as the graveyard slot. So that is very appropriate for discussing murder, right? Okay. So anyhow, you asked me a question as to how I thought about this Somali gentleman. Somalia is on the west coast of, or the east coast of Africa, as you probably know. Now, how did I think about this gentleman? Well, do you want the short answer or the long answer?
So the longer the better, because at the end the mystery will be even better.
So the long answer is that I was ambassador in Zambia. Zambia is in Central Africa, and when I was there, and Dhruv has reminded us how old I am, so this was a long time ago, before Southern Africa became, I won't say independent, but became free of the apartheid policy, which was the racial discrimination policy. So, in other words, India didn't have any embassies south of the Zambezi River. So you had Rhodesia, Namibia, Angola, a long list of countries which weren't independent in that sense. Now, when I was ambassador there, we were supporting liberation movements. And we were supporting them, I mean, this was never publicly declared, but we were supporting them with money, and we were supporting them with clothing, we were supporting them with passports, and with food, and so on. Anyhow, my colleagues in Zambia were also doing the similar things, but maybe not in as big a way as we were doing, by helping the liberation movements. But there was someone who was very quiet, who didn't like parties, who didn't like social activities. He kept to himself, very quiet man, but somehow I got to know him. He was from Somalia, his name was Michael Marco. And his name was Michael Marco because though he was an African, he came from Italian Somaliland. He was in other words, a Christian, a Catholic, fluent in Italian, but of course, an African. And I discovered, after getting to know him, that he knew much more about liberation movements than I did or anyone else did, because Somalia was supplying Chinese weapons to the liberation movements in Africa, and supporting them with a lot of weapons. Now, since I became friendly, we shared, well, he gave me some important information about the liberation movement, which I would never have known. So I left Somalia, as one does, after a diplomatic tenure. And my next tenure was in New York, in the UN. And believe it or not, Michael Marco, who had had problems with his government, had been dismissed from diplomatic position. And he came as the OAU, which was the the Organization of African Unity, now it's called something else. He was the OAU representative in New York at the UN. And I met him again there, and unfortunately, as things happened, I got transferred, he got transferred, I presume, and we lost touch completely. I have no idea where Michael Marco is today, and he has no idea that I've written these books about him. So, in other words, we've lost touch completely. I would love to meet him again, but I don't know whether it's ever going to happen. So, so anyway, that was why, long after I finished with the diplomatic service, I started writing novels, and I started writing novels about, the first one, about Michael Marco and the liberation movements. And it was called The Ugly Ambassador, because Michael was really not a good-looking man. frankly. That's how it all started.
But they did have a reflection on that book by Graham Greene called The Ugly American. Am I right? It was Graham Greene who wrote The Ugly American. The Quiet American. The Ugly American is by another, right? But it had nothing to do with that. I mean,
It was the Quiet American, and as you know, there was an ugly American also.
An ugly American.
An ugly American. But he was the hero. He wasn't the villain. And the ugly American turned out to be a very nice guy, very helpful guy. And my ugly ambassador also is a very superlative character. I hope one of you will read it someday. I don't even know whether it's available anymore. That was a long time ago.
but that means it wasn't a reflection on you because you're pretty handsome, sir. So that way I'm complimenting you over and again. I think I mean every word I say. Thank you, sir. I'll come back to you again. We're just warming up. Even I'm warming up myself here. Apsara had already introduced Yu Jeong Jeong. Am I right in my pronunciation? Is it Yong Yong? Jeong. Yeah. So you see the name there is Jeong Yu Jeong. I would first and foremost, before I go to the other, I'll not put it as questions because it's more of a drawing room conversation than an interview or even a competitive exam. What does it mean, those three beautiful words, or is it two words? It's a mystery for me.
이름의 뜻 유자나무 옆에 있는 우물. 유자나무, 그러니까 우물 옆에 있는 유자나무.
So in Korea there is a tree, it's called the yuzu tree. So her name means like the yuzu tree next to a well, like a water well. That is the meaning of her name.
It's a wishing well or a wishing tree, you say?
아니요, 그게 아니고 한국은 전쟁이가 가끔 이름을 지어줄 때가 있어요. 전쟁이가 지어준 이름.
So in Korea there are a lot of times where your parents don't give you your names, but you pay like a person who gives you a good name.
Oh, I see.
So her name is given by a person who, like for good luck. It's a sign of good luck. That you have a good name.
Did she eventually come to know the name of that person? It's a mystery, you know.
제가 갓나라이였기 때문에 기억이 안 나요.
She was a very small baby, so she doesn't.
Oh, great. At least, I mean, sir knows Marco, but you, Young, doesn't know the person who gave her the name. Lovely. Yeah, that was to make it with light. Nothing very serious stuff about that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got books with me. I've got Sahil's book with me. Sir's book is in my shelf back home. I've got Vasundhara's book with me, The Accused. She keeps looking at me. She always keeps saying, I keep thinking I'm the accused here. It's one of the titles of her book. I read these two books the last 2 weeks. Perfect Happiness, and the other one is called The Good Son. I'll be a bit personal now. I had telephones Krishna about, I think, 2 weeks back, sir, am I right? And then I said, sir, this is one book that I think you should read. And sir very happily got hold of the book. And I'll say this much. This book is a stunner. There is evil incarnate here. There is, you get very uneasy. You feel very uneasy. I'm actually letting the cat out of the bag in a good way, but I will definitely not go to the end of the story, the mystery behind it. But there is this sense of continuous evil. And therefore, I want to ask you, John, that evil, I once remember, watching a movie, The Evil Dead, when I was in college, and for about a week I couldn't sleep, literally, seriously. I think anybody who's seen that movie, Evil Dead, it's a grotesque movie, I mean, evil at its worst. This may not be to that extent, but there is a horror here, suspense here, and brutal crime, all three together. I've said, I think, I've sufficiently said what I have to say about the theme or the matter of the book about evil. But she elaborated on why, how or why she took this, even the second book, The Good Son, is on that. So I would like her to elaborate on the theme, the thematic understanding of these two books. Just once again, she's written 4 books so far. The other two, the other one is called 7 Years of Darkness, and well, anyway, let's carry on.
정확히 대답을 해야 될 텐데, 이 이야기의 시점은 한 30년 전으로 이제 거슬러 올라가야 하는데요. 제가 20대였을 때 감사하고 있습니다.
So you have to go back 30 years ago when she was in her 20s. She used to be a nurse. Like she used to work. She has studied and worked as a nurse 20 years ago.
저는 엄마를 일찍 잃었어요. 엄마를 일찍 잃고 제가 이제 집안에서 엄마 역할을 하면서 살던 때였거든요.
She lost her mother at a very early age, and at a very early age, she became the mother of her family. She became the main maternal character of her family.
그때 한국에서 한국 사회를 완전히 충격에 빠뜨린 그런 사건이 터졌어요. 그게 뭐냐면 이제 한국에서 최초로 사이코패스라는 그 어떤 타이틀을 얻은 남자였거든요.
At that time, there was one case which happened in Korea which was so shocking that it shook the entire country. And this was Korea's first psychopath. Like they caught the first psychopath in Korea.
그 친구는 25살에 굉장히 겉으로 보기에는 잘생긴 아주 모범적인 청년이었는데 미국에 이제 캘리포니아 유학도 갔다 오고 자기 아빠는 의사이고 그런 친구였는데 미국에서 귀국을 했을 때 도박빚을 많이 지고 있으니까 아빠가 너는 쓸모없는 놈이야 이렇게 말을 해서 그가 분노했어요.
So that guy was 25 years old, the psychopath, and he was outside. When you look at him on the outside, he was a very good-looking man, and his father was a doctor, and this person was in California. He was in California, and he had a lot of debt from gambling, and he came back to the country, and his father told him, "You are a useless fellow," and he got very angry when his father said that to him.
그 말을 듣고 격분해서 잠든 아버지를 칼로 40번 찌르고 엄마를 50번 정도 찔러서 두 분을 죽이고 그리고 집안에서 자고 있던 자기 조카는 집에 불을 질러서 죽였어요.
So he got so angry when his dad said, "You are a useless fellow." His parents were sleeping. He stabbed his father 40 times, his mother 50 times, and his nephew was sleeping in the house. He burnt the house, and so the nephew died in the burning house inside.
저는 그 뉴스를 듣고 굉장히 충격을 받았던 게 저는 엄마가 일찍 돌아가셨기 때문에 엄마라는 말만 나와도 막 가슴이 막 콩닥콩닥 설레고 그리고 텔레비전에서 엄마와 딸이 이렇게 손잡고 광고하고 길가에서 엄마와 딸이 나란히 걸어가는 만 해도 눈물이 났었어요. 엄마가 너무 그립고 그 사람들이 부러워서.
So when she saw this case happen, when she read about this case in the news, she was very, very shocked and horrified because she lost her mother at a very young age. So whenever she used to see other people with their daughters, like mother and daughter walking around, or she used to see mother and daughter, playing or something, she used to feel very excited and happy at that prospect and also a little jealous. So this was the killing of this mother by the son was very shocking for her.
머릿속에 어떻게 생겨 먹었길래 자기 엄마 아빠를 다 죽이고 조카들 죽이고 그럴 수 있는가 거기에 대한 궁금증이 생겼어요.
So she thought about how this man could have killed his father, could have killed his mother, his very young nephew in that house. How could he kill? That was something she thought about for a long time.
그래서 이제 그때부터 그 범죄자의 머릿속을 이해하기 위해서 공부를 시작했는데 우리가 생물학은 인간을 가장 객관적으로 이해하는 학문이거든요. 그리고 심리학은 인간을 문학적으로 이해하는 학문이에요. 그래서 생물학과 심리학 공부, 내가 할 수 있는 그런 공부들을 몇 년에 걸쳐서 했었어요.
So she wanted to know how this person, this psychopath, how could he think in such a way, how could he kill both his parents in such a cruel manner. So to understand that, she tried to study anatomy to understand the body, and psychiatry to understand the mental state of this person.
Okay.
그래서 그 공부를 하고 나니까 어떤 결론에 이르게 됐냐면은 인간의 마음속에는 선한 것만 있는 것도 아니고 악한 것만 있는 것도 아니고 두 개가 다 공존한다. 근데 대체 어쩔 때 이 악한 게 튀어나오느냐. 그거를 알고 싶어서 내가 언젠가 작가가 되면 그 이야기를 꼭 써봐야 되겠다. 사이코패스의 머릿속에 들어가서 내가 사이코패스가 되어서 그걸 써봐야겠다. 이렇게 생각해서 쓴 게 굿슨입니다.
So after studying, she realized that all human beings have both evil and good in their minds, and it coexists inside your mind. But there are instances where the evil side just comes out, and that is when she thought, when I start writing books, I should become a psychopath myself, and I should write about this book, and that's how she wrote The Good Son.
Okay, that's very elaborately answered. You have answered it very elaborately. Thanks. I'll revert to you again, Yu Jung, but after that, I come to Syed here. Syed sitting immediately on my left is, I'll get a bit personal. Syed, later on, if you tell me stop. He's a very quiet man. That's what I found about him. Very quiet man. His last 24 hours, 36 hours. And I haven't read his books because I couldn't get them on Amazon. But I read a lot of his reviews. The End of the Sahara, The Book of Faults, The Garden of the East Afla. Then 40 years waiting for Isabel in the Fire of Sarajevo. He is from Algeria, stays in Slovenia, speaks French, writes in Arabic as well as French. I have also gone through an interview that he had given, I think with one of the prominent networks in France, or that was in London, right? That I went through a video of yours where you spoke very distinctly about your passion for literature. And he is, I say, a patriot in a very seminal way, in a very genuine way. I think in a humane way, not just with one country, with one nation, but with all of humanity. I think most of us are. But he appeared to me on a personal level to be very, very involved with mankind. John Donne, the John Donne way. So I'll start off with one quote of yours which I heard in your interview, which I jotted down. And you said that you are a child of war. Am I right, sir? From that, we'll go over why is it? Because I think despite the insanity that we go through in life, yesterday Mr. Kalmus Mahmood had said that we have this great derangement going on, that half of mankind is insane with all the conflicts that's happening all over the world. The brutality at home, brutality in society, brutality in the market, wherever you go, there is conflict, brutality, evil. Yet there is, I feel at some level, a lot of goodness. But war, I'm a child of war. That is a very, very intense sentence I found, so I jotted it down. So I will please elaborate on this and how it affected you as a writer, how you built up as a writer.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't want to give any tragical speech because people may be very tired. But in my memory, I don't remember my childhood because it's like a big hole, black hole. Since I was 10 years, it started civil war in Algeria. I lost some member of my family, so, and when I meet some people, recently I was in Italy, for example, they ask me, oh, you know, in Italy 90s it was perfect period in Italy. But me, I don't remember 90s. For me, it's like black picture. And I think it's like trauma will continue in my life because later when I became a journalist, I still remember, I joined the first newspaper. And while my colleagues, they went abroad to cover, for example, Cap Festival, you know, of cinema, they go to Paris. And me, the redactor often said, you must to cover this war in Africa, in Somalia, and so on and so on. And at one moment I asked him, why just me? Why my colleagues? Okay, because you are the only one, you are single. You know, you don't have children. Okay, if you die, you die. Okay, you are alone. Later, I became father. I asked him, now I have son. Okay, but you have experience. We can change you now. It's too late, you know. And I see how much you grow up in the war, and you make your life beside the war, and become like trauma. And then when I start to write in literature, because I'm a writer before to be a journalist, I noticed something. I noticed the first book of literature, the first book really. This book, in one part comes from India, is 1001 Nights. I think everybody knows. Okay. If we take this book, it's the founder book. Even Garcia Marquez, when we ask him what is your favorite book, he said 1001 Nights. It comes between India and our world. Let's talk about this book. What we see the beginning. The first page, you see one king, his name is Shahryar. Okay? His name is Shahryar. He is shaken by his wife. Okay? He will kill her. What he will do every day, he marry a new woman, and second day he will kill her. What means this? What means is serial killer. We are facing serial killer here. But we are, from the beginning, we are in front of detective novel. That means the founding of modern literature is detective novel. Then we continue still with other tales in the same mechanic in the narration of detective novel. Later, God forgives Agatha Christie. She because of Agatha Christie, later we see she reduced the detective and the mystery and the commercial thing. Because during 18th and 19th centuries, it was the golden age of realism in Europe. You know, detective novel is realism also. But today, I think, 2026, I could say, the future of literature is detective novel, because we are living in such violent world. Everybody here, every 100 kilometers, we find two people talking about war. It was not like this in the past. If you take the map of the world, we have more number of wars than 1 century ago. I think we must admire it, we must be realistic. We are in such a violent world. Maybe we don't recognize today, but our children, another generation, they will recognize this. And the future of literature is detective novel.
Yeah, thank you, Misael. You see, I said in the beginning that this session is not typically or just on the detective novel. It's got a wide spread. And Syed has explicitly told you his journey, how it began and what he thinks about how he came out to be a detective writer. Because the essence of the first book that he read, in fact the first book that he thinks is I would probably not agree with you on that count, but that doesn't matter. It's a question of personal understanding. The 1001 Nights. It's a beautiful way of saying that it's a detective novel, because there's a murder taking place. It's a murder novel. So, but I would again go on to you. You said this, that it's not just what happens during war. You see, his book, the end of the Sahara is a hotel. This is not the desert Sahara that we know. On my right side, it's about a hotel. And in this hotel, there is this very beautiful lady who's murdered. And this lady who's murdered, she's sought after by the hotel manager. And there is another person who's her lover. And there is a fourth person who's a police officer, the detective. He wants to nail the lover. And in all this, the background is the civil war in Algeria in the year 1968, 1992 to
2002.
so for 10 years, and he had that at the back. I can use the word philosophical, not in the Socrates way, but in the typical Dhruva Adharika way. Please could you tell us something about this? Was it trauma that affected you, or was it the lie that is born that affected you in the story? Because it's a combination of both mystery and detective and lies and trauma and everything. Please.
Thank you. To answer this question, I must to say in the beginning, thanks to India and thanks to Bollywood. I will tell you why. You can imagine one country, in Algeria, we have civil war. That means at 8 o'clock in the morning, you must to go inside and close your door, not go outside. Sometimes electricity, and when you wake up in the morning, maybe your neighbor is cleaning, maybe you will find 100 persons in the street are cleaning. Because civil war is not the way, it's not the context to talk about the war. But during this period, it's one thing makes us actually dream. That had me and had others a lot. During this time, Algerian TV, and we had only one television at that time, we would all watch the Algerian television, you know. They were smart. Every weekend we had to watch Indian movie. And Indian movie, it's so long, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours, you know. And you are stuck in the TV and you are watching and you don't understand. But you are dancing with them and you are dreaming with them and you are shopping with them. You know, the Indian movies, they make us dreaming really. And it was one time, if you ask any kid in Algeria, what you want to be in the future? I wanted to be Shah Rukh Khan. You know, everybody loves Shah Rukh Khan. And every woman wants to marry Shah Rukh Khan, and every kid wants to be like Shah Rukh Khan in the future. That makes us dream. And everything in my life and the life of million kids in Nigeria start with the dream. The war in the background, okay? But we keep dreaming. While I am one of them, I think one day I will have chance to play in the movie with them. So, when the war is finished, okay, you think that is the end. Yeah, but then everything starts. Because when the war finished, we didn't have, I have to agree, we didn't have any psychological or any psycho to treatment. Until today, for example, I live in the most safe country in the world. So US, small country. But I see in the night, I must to knock the door. I must to be sure that in my car, if I hear, you know, minimum of voice in the night, I wake up, you know. And my things is really is not practical company with others. Still continue because when you make the war, I was under the war, I see rats kill in front of me. Why address that time? I didn't need to bring this kid like psychological treatment to help. No, they don't care. They care only to finish the war, but they don't understand yet. The collective war is finished, but we start the individual war. And for me, it became something familiar in my life. The war, I'm not afraid because I always say to myself, I would be died 12 years ago. Since I was not killed, my life now it's like bonus, you know. I have bonus. That is gift because me I could be 10 years ago that. That means what I get in India for me is like big gift. When I write, when I'm published, because the war finished, right? But we still live with like feeling like cycles, and we still hear some voices of war in the head. And when I sleep, when I dream, I see some shadows on this world in different page.
Very, very painful way, and yet very intense. And I think something that makes you look at life through lenses that many of us do not or cannot. And to that extent, I think that is why you are a writer. You've gone through the pain and the suffering, the trauma and the sorrow, and it has affected your family. And anyway, Vasundhara, we come to you now. Vasundhara here on my left next to Sahil. Of course, you all know that I think I'm being unministerial, being redundant. Essentially an actor. She's been acting, maybe along with Shah Rukh Khan will come to know that no. Okay, why not? I mean, I think we have been lucky enough to be acting with you, Vasundhara. So she's acted since the time she was 17, good number of movies, and she's got 7 national awards for the movie. I think she's very humble. In the morning when I asked her, she was not very grateful. 17 national awards in India is not a joke. And then Vasundhara's book, The Accused, I read it. I read it in about 4 days' time. There's this guy called Rakesh, the inspector, the police inspector, very innocent guy, almost like me. Yeah, so that he's there, Pooja is there. Pooja, again, like when I asked her about Marco, could she be an alter ego to you? She's a model, she's a movie lady, an anchor in a TV channel. Then there is Madhu, the all those this book of hers is a very direct book. It's linear, like we say in the literary parlance. It doesn't have any back. I mean, it has a few, but not too many. But the first question that goes to you, it's a question at all. I was very impressed with Inspector Rakesh, not on gender terms, because now it's a fashion to divide things, not always perhaps, but it happens between the gender issues, a woman figure more prominently or a man figuring more prominently, and the man being a man, he sees himself and less of him in a woman, for example. But it's not that. Rakesh came out to be a helpless guy and at the same time a very cunning guy. He's pretty cunning because the person who was accused for the murder was his childhood lover. His first love, not childhood lover. And just in brief, Vasundhara will come to it. Again, I'll go back to Sir and Yong. Tell us the theme of this book without spilling the beans because it will not sell otherwise. And why did you name it The Accused? Because according to me, it's a fine name, it's a dramatic name, and thematically very true. But do you think there could have been an alternative title to this book? Just let us know the ramifications of the theme, the plot, and the title of the book. I'm asking you too many questions at the same time. No, man, thank you so much.
Before I address that, a small correction. My film has won 7 national awards. Not me, my film. Gosh, if only, if only. As for the title, let me go backward. The book is